Hello there, here and we are back with Mycorrhiza. So we have explored door 1 and door 2. Door 2 is much more disastrous. I feel like door 2 is much more disastrous, but door 1 is also what do you call it? They all have their own taste. And this time we are going to door 3. I totally don't remember that there's this background sound back then. Huh. But yeah, as I said, let's open door 3, shall we? I wonder what awaits us. This has some sort of things near the handle. Oh, multiple hand. What the fuck? Fascinating. What is this title called? Trap. Fascinating indeed. Ah, yeah. I shut awake, panting heavily, my clothes sticking to my skin due to all the sweat. My eyes darted around the room, but everything was quiet. I seemed to be safe. We are in junji-ito once more. A nightmare? Seems like I just had a nightmare. There were people laughing and distorted faces and... So you remember? I couldn't remember, but it must have been terrifying. Probably the last thing you experience. The pulsing pain in my head slowly subsided. Is that how you say it? I took a deep breath and kept mumbling to myself that it had all been a dream, nothing more. After calming down, I decided to take another look around the house. The fact that no one was here, even though the lights were on, was still nagging at the back of my mind. But what I saw when I opened the bedroom door was not what I had expected. Ah! Fascinating. I really love how they branch out these 3 doors. Very interesting. Instead of the living room, I had entered the bedroom through. I found myself in the middle of a long hallway. A row of doors interspersed with handrails covered each wall. I could hear people chatting in the distance. Where was I, and how did I get here? This place looked like a hotel at first glance. A plate with a room number was hanging next to all the doors. Mine was 215. As I moved towards the end of the hallway, I took a more thorough look at my surroundings. The floor was lined with a red carpet featuring an elaborate design. The red and white walls complemented the elegant atmosphere. On the ceiling hung electrical lamps that were similar in design to candles. As I stepped out of the hallway, I was momentarily blinded by the bright ambience. We are on a ship. A huge chandelier was hanging on the ceiling of the grand hall I had stepped into. It seems to be on the upper floor of these 2 structures. The ground floor, apparently a restaurant area, was lined with tables. Multiple people were dining and happily chatting with each other, so that's fine, right? But we are out of junji-ito, right? Or is this ship called junji-ito as well? Is this even a ship? Or are we near the ocean? A huge window across from me showed a big body of water. Was I in a hotel by the beach? The water looked oddly close. I needed answers. Quickly I located the stairs and hurried down towards the restaurant. Luckily one of the waiters was just passing by as I reached the bottom. Excuse me, could you tell me where I am? He answered without hesitation. You're in the restaurant area, sir. If you'd like to order something, you need to... No, I mean this whole... hotel. This time he did hesitate. Well, you're on the junji-ito. Ah, so it is a ship. And we are in the junji-ito. Junji-ito cruise ship, if that's what you mean. Is everything in order? Cruise ship? How did I get on a cruise ship? Had I been kidnapped? Would my kidnappers let me walk around freely? The waiter had a concerned look on his face. He glanced over at his colleague who had gestured to him with a stern expression on her face. I'm not sure whether or not the waiter are collaborating with whatever is going on here or simply just worried. I could call someone over to help you. Or you could find someone at the help desk just at the end of that hallway. He gestured back up the stairs and pointed at another hallway next to the one I had come out of. Thank you, I'll just ask for more information at the help desk. I didn't want to hold him up any longer. Hello, May? The waiter's colleague had by now crossed her arms in front of her chest and was tapping her foot impatiently. The waiter hesitantly nodded and turned away from me. May? You there? A cruise ship? I didn't remember ever booking a ticket for a cruise. But as I rummaged through my pockets, I did find a keycard with the number 215 on it. Right, the help desk. I shall be able to find out more there. I made my way back up the stairs. May? The room at the end of the second hallway looked like a lounge area. It was filled with comfortable sofas and armchairs. Multiple groups of people were chatting to each other. I could see children playing near what I assumed to be the help desk. May I help you? I quickly approached the man standing at the desk who perked up from the documents he was browsing. Hi, how can I help you? I'm a bit lost. Well, I don't really remember booking a cruise. Is there a way to get off early? He looked at me with a similarly puzzled expression as the waiter. Could you tell me your room number? Yes, it's 215, but I don't really remember booking it. I took out my keycard and showed it to him. The man opened a drawer and started expertly flipping through the folders. Shortly after, he pulled out a document. Is this your name and signature? He turned it so that I could see it. To my surprise, the name and the signature written on it were indeed mine. Is it? Is it really yours, though? But how? How could I forget signing up for a cruise? As for your second question, we are currently on the last day of our trip. The ship will arrive at the junji-ito port tomorrow at noon. Are you here with anyone? He threw a skeptical look my way. I must have sounded like a weirdo. No, I'm alone. I'll just sort things out tomorrow then. The employee shrugged and put the folder back into the drawer. Don't hesitate to let me know if you need any more help. I turned around, wondering what my next course of action should be when May, finally. Ow! Something had hit one of my legs hard. I stumbled but managed to stop my fall by holding onto the help desk. Oh, fascinating. The order was different. Hello, Sabrina. Hello, Lenny. Oh god, are you okay? Lenny, you need to pay more attention. I looked up to see what had hit me. Initially, I had assumed that I had walked into some piece of furniture, but that wasn't the case. A boy was sitting on the ground in front of me. Oof. Someone was standing over him, making sure that he was alright. As soon as she had confirmed that he wasn't hurt, she turned to me. I'm very sorry about that. Are you hurt anywhere? Lenny, make sure to apologize. Sorry, I wasn't looking. No, it's alright, I'm okay. I turned to the boy named Lenny. Are you okay? Yeah, it's nothing. His look was fixed to the ground. It seems like he really did feel bad about bumping into me. The woman had in the meanwhile fixed her gaze onto my face. Are you sure you're alright? You look rather pale. No, I'm fine. That didn't seem to convince her. My confusion and frustration about being on this boat had shown on my face. Would you like to sit down with us for a bit? I have some medicines against seasickness, it might help. Now that she was mentioning it, I was feeling a bit woozy. I had been too preoccupied with figuring out what was going on to notice. She led me to one of the sofas and motioned me to sit down. My name is Sabrina, by the way. This boy here is Lenny, and the girl over there is Amy. Yes, I already know. Are you drawing something, Amy? Oh. She motioned to a girl sitting at a table nearby who was brooding over a piece of paper. My name is Scott. So are they your family? Sabrina stopped rummaging through her handbag and looked at me with an amused smile on her face. Oh no, they are my neighbor kids. We are good friends and I paint with their children sometimes. Interesting. I'm currently looking after them. While Sabrina was still looking for the medicine, Lenny approached his sister and peered over her shoulder. He then grimaced and walked over to our sofa to take a seat next to Sabrina. Here you go. She handed me a pill from a small bottle. Out of the corner of my eyes, I saw Lenny motion to Amy. I don't get how she can be so into drawing. It's boring. Shut the hell up, kid. I'm sorry. She's been at it for at least half an hour and it still looks terrible. Hey, I heard that. Amy shot an angry gaze at Lanny. Good art needs time. Maybe you should work on some art as well. Yeah, maybe it'd help with your hyperactivity. Well, wow. I'm not hyperactive, I'm just healthy, that's what Dad says. I guess so. If I had any ounce of knowledge about music, I could help you relieve your energy that way at least. Though it's also been a while since my art. Sabrina trailed off with a sad look on her face. Don't worry, it's okay, I've been figuring things out on my own. Also, I've been asking Dad and Mom if they can buy me a melodica. Oh, melodica. I'm pretty sure that I'll get one soon. You two really seem to have a knack for art and music. Your parents must be proud of you. I don't know about Amy, but I'm pretty sure they're proud of me. Ooh! Amy shot under her angry glance Lenny's way, but didn't retort. She seemed to be the mature one in their siblings' relationship. Ah! Frederick. Hey, do you have any more of those pills? I jumped slightly. A voice had called out from right behind me. As I turned around, I saw a grumpy-looking man. Sabrina grabbed her handbag once again. Ah, another one, Frederick. It says on the package that one should be enough. Apparently not. I can work while feeling like crap. Why did I agree to go to sorry, how do you talk while you're having a seasick? Apparently not. I can work while feeling like crap. Why did I agree to go to go on this trip? Sabrina gave him a skeptical look, but handed him a pill without saying anything. Frederick turned around on the spot and trotted off. Sabrina sighed. Sorry about that. He's usually more pleasant. The seasickness must be getting to him. That, coupled with an upcoming deadline for an article. So he's a journalist? No, that's not what I meant. He's a biologist and he's been working hard on getting something published in that one magazine, so Frederick is still a biologist. A scientist. If you ask me, his obsession with getting more publication is a bit unhealthy. A fellow scientist? Now that I think about it, I hadn't written anything in a while myself. Way more pressing matters had taken up my time recently. The spores were still spores? Fascinating. This is like the time you say something in chapter 2. Door 2, I mean. Coincidentally, I found some art mushroom not long ago. Mushrooms? After some experiments, I discovered that they had the potential to influence someone's facial arrangement. Interesting. Really interesting. Mycorrhiza is a shroom-related stuff, right? Yes, the title of the game is Mycorrhiza. It's something related to fungus. I jotted up. Sabrina looked at me in surprise. Thank you for the medicine. I feel better now. I should get going though. I was too anxious to sit still. Even though I know that there was nothing I could do until the ship came into port the next day. Alright, take care. Feel free to let me know if you need any more medicine. I thanked her again, said goodbye to the siblings, and headed back towards the sleeping quarters. But I stopped just before the hallway that led to my room. My eyes wandered towards the big window. Fascinating. May hasn't shown up at all. The sun had started to set, but I didn't feel tired at all. Likely because I had woken up just recently. And so I decided that the best way to dispel some of my anxiety was to take in some fresh air. I continued on past the hallway and out onto the deck. A salty breeze hit my face. I could hear the soft splashing of waves against the hull of the ship. This place was way emptier than I had expected. Less than a handful of couples and some families were standing near the edge of the railing. One of those couples had their dog with them. Every now and then, when it heard the call of a seagull, it jerked its head around. Were one of the pairs on this deck perhaps Amy and Lenny's parents? Absent-mindedly, I approached the railing right by the door and looked over. We were very high up. Looking out at the waves hitting the ship hull had an eerily hypnotic effect. Combined with the cool air and the sound of water, it calmed me down. Hey! Hey, indeed. I jerked up. Someone was standing at the railing right next to me. Sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you. No worries, it's okay. It looks like she had been standing there for a while. Did I somehow overlook her? You look a bit confused, so I wanted to ask if you're alright. Oh, well, I guess I'm a bit lost. I had a feeling she'd be no more understanding than the employee, so I decided not to tell her too much. I'm a bit lost too. It might sound weird, but I'm not sure how I ended up here. Interesting. Wait, that sounded oddly familiar to my situation, but she seemed to misinterpret my surprised look. I know, it sounds odd. It's just like in dreams. Whenever you try to remember how you got to the place you are dreaming about, you can't. So I wasn't the only one. There was someone else here who was experiencing the same thing I was. Knowing this lifted my spirit. Just as I was about to tell her about my situation, she suddenly perked up. Sorry, I should go. I promised to meet someone. And with that, she hurried off before I could say anything. I was slightly frustrated by the fact that I hadn't been able to confide in her. So far, the keys lies inside a book. I wonder... I wonder if the something like a book-related thing. Later we will see. But I could seek her out tomorrow, I guess. The sun had meanwhile almost set. A blood-red stripe was visible on the horizon. I set off back towards my room. With nothing better to do, I got into bed and tried to sleep. My night was restless. Half of the time I wasn't sure if I was awake or asleep. Weird sounds kept waking me up. By the time the sun had risen, it felt like I had barely slept at all. Today will be the day we arrive at a place called Junji-ito. From there I will be able to get back home one way or another. You sure about that? Ah! I love it. I rubbed my eyes as I opened the door that led out into the hallway, but something was wrong. Really wrong. The hallway looked different. Was it shorter? There definitely used to be more doors here. It was as if a new wall and door had appeared where the hallway originally continued to the restaurant area. I approached the new door and tried to turn the doorknob, but it was locked. Slowly panic set in. Was I trapped in here? Did everyone already leave? There was no way they had left me behind, right? I quickly approached one of the doors in the hallway and knocked. Silence. I tried the next and the third, all was silence. My heart rate accelerated. I forced myself to calm down and think this through. There was no way they would leave the passengers behind. And even if they did, they would notice sooner or later that I was still in here. The most productive thing to do right now would be checking if the other rooms were open. Maybe I could find a way to make people aware of the fact that I was still in here. I considered which door to try first. Really interesting. Room 1. The room was unfurnished and windowless. A sole light bulb in the middle of the ceiling illuminated it faintly. I could see about 15 people sitting on the dirty ground. Most of them seems to be adults. But there were a couple of children cowering next to what I assumed to be their parents. One person from the group, an older man, raised his head as if waking from a dream. The door! It's open! More and more people lifted their heads and I could feel their stares piercing me. The man was the first to stand up and shuffle towards the door. I stepped aside, but as he tried to cross the threshold, he suddenly stopped. He was frozen in midair, his finger tightened, as if he was exerting great effort. Disappointed, he stepped back. It's no use. He stalked back to his spot and slumped to the floor. They are trapped in there. The other people in the room lowered their heads. Their hope dashed in an instant, so there's like some sort of barrier. I wasn't sure what was going on, but it was evident that they were in trouble. I quickly walked up to the older man. Hey, do you know what is going on in here? No, we all woke up in this room and are unable to leave. And now it seems like you're stuck here with us as well. My heart stopped for a second and panic slowly started to set in. Was I really trapped in here? I hastily walked to the door and stepped right through. The man stared at me with wide eyes. This means that you, instead of the girl, might be able to help us. The girl. Right after he uttered those words, some of the people in the room lifted their heads and looked at me. Some with a look of disbelief and some with hope in their eyes. So there was someone else on the ship who could enter and exit this room freely, and the girl doesn't want to help you all. What did she look like? He started explaining. I soon realized that his description fit someone I knew. It sounded just like the girl I had met on the deck yesterday, so she got into this mess as well. We asked her to help us, but she just laughed and left. That wasn't quite how I remembered her, but it wasn't like I known her for a long time. You know her for a long time already. And that's exactly how she acts. Very manipulative. Was her nice appearance just an act? I shifted my attention back to the man before me. There might be people behind the other doors that we could possibly help. Please let me know if you have anything that you don't need or if you are in need of something. That way I can make sure that everyone gets out of here safely. Some people nodded in agreement while the majority stayed stoic. A woman stood up, got something from a shelf and approached me. We found some medicine in this room. We can give away all of it, but maybe it will help someone. The label was barely legible. I could make out the letters. Fun? Night? Fun! That must be a good medicine. I still gladly took the bottle and thanked her as she trotted back. Please, if you find any food, bring it to us. Alright, I should head out, but I'll let you know if I find anything. With this word, I stepped back through the door. It closed behind me as if a wind gust had suddenly blown through the hallway. Interesting. How about room 2? The door creaked open and light spilled into the damp room. A crowd of about 40 people occupied the space. 40? Some were sitting on the floor and some were leaning against the dirty walls. Suddenly, someone near the door darted up and shoved me aside. It was Frederick, who I had met only briefly while I was chatting with Sabrina. He tried to force himself through the door but was stopped mid-air. An invisible force was pushing him back. Well. Some more people approached the door and tried the same, but to no avail. Damn it! Frederick slammed his face into the wall. I thought this was my chance. Frustrated, he went back to where he was originally sitting. Since I had been in a room like this before, I knew that I was able to travel back and forth. Hey, a few of the people look up as I start speaking. I should be able to walk in and out. There are also survivors in other rooms. I might be able to get you some things if you need anything specific. Frederick shut up and walked up to me until he was way too close for comfort. We need food. You'll get some for us, right? That sounded more like a threat than a request. Okay. We need food. You got some for us, right? Yeah, I can do that if I find some. I stepped back so I didn't have to smell his sour sweat anymore. Do you happen to have anything here that you don't need? Just in case other people trapped on the ship need anything specific. He looked at me as if I had just made a joke. What? No, even if we had anything, we wouldn't just be giving it away. I looked at him skeptically. Alright, I know what you want. I have a gun with me. If you bring me food, I'll trade it for the gun. A gun? I had never used a firearm before, and I wasn't sure how a gun would help me in this situation. Hesitantly, I agreed to escape Frederick's impatient gaze. Maybe it would come in handy after all. But you'll have to make sure to share the food with the others. Alright, whatever, just give us something, alright? I don't have anything with me right now, sorry. Then get the hell out of here and find something. He shouted at me and shoved me out of the room. Why? I tripped and fell to the floor as he slammed the door shut in front of my face. That guy was a huge jackass. But I still felt bad for the other people in the room. I have to go back there eventually if I wanted to help them. I dusted myself off and turned towards the other doors. Room 3? I entered the dimly lit room. It was desolate except for a few cans of foods and a few water bottles in one of the corners. There were also two rather young children, one boy and one girl in the middle of the room. As I saw the girl kneeling over the boy's motionless body, my heart dropped. It was Amy and Lenny. She looked at me with pleading eyes as I rushed to their side. Lenny was covered in sweat, indicating a heavy fever. His limbs were heavily bruised and he was heaving. I glanced over at Amy. Fortunately, she seemed to be alright. I'm Scott. We met yesterday. You're Amy, right? Yeah. Her voice was shaking. Lenny is sick. Don't worry, Amy will find a way to help him. She hesitantly nodded. That seemed to calm her down a bit. I had some medicine on me. Or at least that's what the woman who gave it to me called it. I couldn't really read the label. Should I give it to Lenny? I will assume that I can give it later. No. I don't know if what I had here was proper medicine, so I decided not to risk it. You seem to have some food and water here. Do you think I could take some of it with me? More people are trapped in here and they don't seem to have any. I don't mind. Thank you. She didn't seem very talkative. But that was to be expected considering how concerned about her brother she must be. I will let you know once I find something that can help you, okay? Okay. She turned back towards her brother. I walked by the canned food and considered taking some with me. Take half? Take all of it? They will die. Take half. I decided to take part of it with me, that way they will still have some left. I left the room and found myself back in the hallway. Also half? There's like 40 people in room 2 and 15 in room 1, what the fuck? And there's only 2 in room 3. I mean, if it's so little, yeah, it's reasonable. So, room 4. The room seems to be empty except for a lonely light bulb hanging from the ceiling. It didn't seem to be working properly as it barely gave off any light and flickered every now and then. It took my eyes a while to get adjusted to the darkness. And right as they did, I realized that the room wasn't actually as empty as I had thought. Oh! A huge dog that I hadn't seen right away because of the poor lighting was just a few feet in front of me. Hello! And it was determined to rip me into pieces. It's a dog back then. I hastily stumbled backwards, almost tripping. This was it, I thought. I was going to get mauled. But nothing happened. All I could hear was the rattling of a chain. I slowly opened my eyes and saw the dog was fortunately chained to the wall per its red collar. It was vehemently struggling to get free. After confirming that there was indeed no risk of it getting free, I took a closer look around the room. There were small glittering objects strewn across the ground next to the animal. Next to the dog was a body, a badly mutilated one. What? A foul feeling spread through my stomach. Did the dog do this? The corpse was lying too close to the dog to examine it. Instead, I cautiously inched closer to the object scattered on the ground next to it. I picked one up and examined it. It was a bullet. I had no use for the bullet yet, but if I did in the future, I know where to find one. Do we have to shoot the dog? I assume yes. When I took another close look at the area behind the dog, I saw that there was an opening in the wall. It seems to lead into another section of the ship. This was the first time since getting trapped here that I had seen a possible escape route. The only problem was the furious animal blocking it. I couldn't think of a way to get around the dog without getting mauled, and so I decided to retreat for now and look for a way to get past it without getting myself in danger. Suddenly I felt the floor beneath me vibrate with increasing intensity. What was happening? An earthquake? The intensity of the rumbling increased and soon I was thrown from side to side. I struggled to stabilize myself but ultimately failed. My back hit the wall hard and I fell to the ground. I rolled into the ball trying to protect my head as I slid along the floor. The sound of metal breaking apart filled my ears. It was deafening. And then it stopped just as suddenly as it had started. Interesting. I sat in a fetal position for a while longer, fearing that everything would start shaking again. But it seems like it was finally over. Were the people inside the rooms alright? Had we perhaps run ashore? Would someone come and rescue us Now that we were on land, a myriad of questions filled my mind. My eyes fell on the locked door to the hallway. Something about it was off. It was barely noticeable, but it seems like the door was slightly skewed. I quickly approached it, turned the doorknob, and pulled on it. It was still stuck, but I did feel like I would be able to pry it open with more force. And so I tugged again and again, each time the door inching more and more open, until the door flew open and I was thrown back. A strong gust of wind hit my face. I reflexively closed my eyes. I celebrated internally. Finally, I would be able to get out of here and look for help. Finally, this nightmare would end. But I was mistaken. What I expected to see beyond the door was the hall and restaurant from the day before. But my expectations were utterly betrayed. Oh, that's a hand. The ocean, a huge body of water, was in the distance. That's a hand. As I looked down, I saw that we were hundreds of meters above ground. How were we moving on land? Oh wait, this is land? Ground? What shocked me the most was that I could make a thing long like supporting the ship. What the fuck? Their movements were so smooth that it felt like we were floating. It was as if I was inside something that was alive. That's probably it. My eyes wandered across the rest of the ship below me. It must have been broken in half. The form of the tear was quite odd though. It looked like a huge bite mark. As if something even bigger than this cruise ship had ripped into it. Probably. But that couldn't be true. There was no animal big enough that could have bitten off such a huge chunk of the ship. There could be. As the creature I was on made a sharp turn, the ocean drifted out of view. My grip on the door frame tightened. I feared I would get thrown off. I mean, it's already... There's already a creature bringing the ship. Then it stopped. My eyes widened in shock as I saw the scene before me. The view was surreal. Fascinating. Oh my god, I really love that. Oh, all the eyes blinking, I really love it. Especially that one. Holy shit. One single town was standing in the middle of a wasteland, Kajam height. Wandering through that wasteland were enormous, outlandish creatures amongst gigantic mushrooms. They looked like something straight of a nightmare. I wiped my eyes, trying to dispel the illusion before me, but it wouldn't go away. Let me... Oh damn. My breathing became ragged and my chest contracted painfully. I had to accept this as my reality. In a trance, I stepped away from the door frame. A wave of rage overcame me as I lashed out and kicked the wall. A dull pain spread throughout my foot, but I barely noticed it. Tears started to well up in my eyes. Was there even any reason for me to go on? Why shouldn't I just go back to my room, lie down in bed and stay there? I leaned against the wall and stared at the ceiling. My feet were shaking. But I was finally starting to calm down. I knew that getting angry wouldn't help. What I was seeing was unlogical in any way. It went against everything I knew. Sorry, I'm back. I was just fixing something. I was a scientist, so not being able to understand this place frustrated me. Above all, it scared me. But giving up wasn't the right thing to do. It wasn't the logical choice if I really wanted this nightmare to end. I escape sooner or later and get myself into a better position eventually. That's what I hope at least. This ship may still be suspended high above ground, but there must be some way to get down. I will figure out what to do next once I was out of here. I closed the door and slowly let my eyes drift over the 4 doors in front of me. Huh. Which room? Room 1? I entered the room for a second time. Even though I hadn't been away for that long, everything seemed different. The faces of the people here had darkened considerably. I spotted the old man that I had talked to not too long ago and approached him. But he didn't even look up as I greeted him. He just sat there with a blank expression on his face, not even moving an inch. Hey, is everything okay? No response. As I looked around, I noticed that none of the others had moved from their spot. Nor had any of them looked up since I had entered this room. I tried to talk to them, but they wouldn't respond. It was as if they had suddenly turned into statues. Their eyes were devoid of any sense of life. I tried shaking them awake, but they didn't react. Hello, can anyone here hear me? I crowded out into the room in desperation, but my words echoed back emptily. What happened? What was going on? What had happened to them? Even though I was surrounded by people, I felt alone. Hern. I jerked my head around. I scanned the dim room with my eyes, until I finally saw something in one of the corner of my eyes. In one of the corner move ever so slightly. My heart started to race as I stepped closer. I couldn't quite make out what had made the sound, but it was probably a human, right? Grr. It made a gargling sound and I hesitated for a bit. Horrific image of all kinds of creatures popped into my mind. I shook my head and tried to get them out of my head. After a few more cautious steps, I was finally close enough to see it. It was a girl. So you return here and do this to everyone? No, it wasn't just some girl. It was the same girl that I had run into on the deck. Her body was limp, but as opposed to the other people in this room, she seemed more or less conscious. I cautiously picked her up and made my way towards the door. The words of the old man echoed in my ears. He told me that she was able to pass through the door just like I was. But why hadn't she left the room by herself? She probably did and then return now and do something to the people. I'm not sure. Did something happen that she got caught up in? And how did she get in here anyway? I would have noticed her in the hallway. I turned towards my room. It had a bed and she would probably be safe there. Opening the door while carrying a person was not easy feat, but I finally succeeded and put her on the bed. Home. Her facial expression changed from one of pain to one of relaxation. She instantly fell asleep. I debated whether I should wake her and try to get some information out of her, but it didn't seem like she was in any condition to answer questions. Seeing her sleep so soundly made me want to take a break as well. But I pushed myself to set out of the room and back into the hallway. I still needed to see if there was any way to get out of here. I wonder if I room... Yeah? Ah. I froze the moment I entered the room. I had seen some movement out of the corner of my eye, but when I turned my head, all I could see was a blank wall. As I stepped further in, I noticed a scratching sound. It was as if something was clawing at the wall, but I couldn't make out anything that could have been causing it. There was barely any movement at all. Everyone seems to still be frozen in place. I stood in the doorframe and strained my ears. It was getting louder. I considered leaving, but curiosity overcame me. Slowly I stepped into the room. Oh. It was then that I saw someone who seems to still be awake. Their slight twitching was barely noticeable in the dim light. I considered calling out to them, but something told me not to, and so I cautiously inched towards them. New character? But the closer I got, the more apparent it became that something was off. I froze. Their head. Uh-huh. Oh, nice. It almost looked as if their face was melting off their bones. Their eyes were dark and hollow. I took a few hasty step backs, but they unfortunately didn't seem to react to my presence at all. The scratching seems to have gotten even louder. I noticed something lying on the floor not too far away from the person I had just checked on. I hesitated, but my fearful glances were answered with complete silence and lack of any movement. I was still safe, probably. I shifted towards the thing on the ground and slowly picked it up. It was a sheet of paper that looked like it was ripped from a diary or log. If I was the leader of this operation, I'd fire anyone who let ethics get in the way. Wow. Sacrifice always needed to be made to ensure humanity's future. You see where we are now? I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna do my research in private, since it's not like there aren't enough subjects inside the zone. I couldn't make heads or tails of this note. I was missing too much context. The scratching got even louder. Something was definitely not right here. I should probably get out of here. I let my eyes wander over the room one last time and made my way back outside. I wonder what will happen if I go back in once more. And also how many combination is in this game. I grabbed the door handle but then remembered what I had experienced last time I was in this room. Was it really a good idea to go back in? Though technically my life hadn't been in any danger. Maybe I should check the room again just in case. I just stayed in the door frame. It wasn't like anything besides me could leave this room anyway. Oh! The door slowly creaked open and I glanced inside the room. What the hell? The people that were here were gone. The room was completely empty. In their place was a black substance. Was it blood? Then the scratching started. It seems to be coming from every direction at once. As I tried to make out its source, I noticed something at the very far end of the room. There were ripples on the wall. It almost looked like the wall was made out of water. Ah, so the room is eating them. Slowly something started to push itself through the thick liquid-like texture. Oh, okay, that was different. First it was a single hand, then more and more arms started to appear, all of them grasped at empty air. Oh, all the while the scratching was getting louder and louder. I tried to shield my ears with hands. My instinct told me to run, but I was frozen in place. I couldn't avert my eyes from the scene before me. Slowly feet started to reach through the wall and then finally their whole body was free. The scratching had stopped. I recognized the clothes of some of the creatures in front of me. These were the people who had been trapped in this room. But their heads, they weren't human anymore. Their faces were distorted beyond recognition. As I stared at them in disbelief, I noticed that none of them were moving, they were just staring at me. Then one of them slowly lifted their arm, grasping at the air, and started to slowly walk towards me. It almost looked as if it was pleading. Then the others followed suit. I started to feel a mixture of terror and pity. But as they got closer and closer, my terror grew stronger and stronger. What would they do once they reached me? They definitely weren't human anymore. Were they about to attack me? My head began to spin and I took a few hasty step backs, almost tripping on my way out of the room. There was nothing I could do for them. It was too late. If only I could have found a way out before they turned into that. Frustrated and with a heavy heart, I slammed the door shut. I can't help them anymore. Room 2? The first thing I did after entering the room was taking a quick glance around to see if Frederick was nearby. To my deterring man, he was. He jumped up as he saw me coming in. So you still alive? Hey, did you bring anything useful with you? He didn't even offer so much as a greeting. I do have food on me, maybe I could trade it for the weapon. Yeah, there's an option for the first one. I decided to give the food to Frederick. It was probably a good idea to have a weapon with me in case I run into something out there. I have some food with me. I can give it to you and you can share it with the others. Frederick took a quick look around as if to make sure that no one was watching. Then he took a gun from his pocket. Here, take it quickly. Don't tell anyone you gave me this, okay? I was definitely not okay with keeping the food a secret and was about to protest. But he had already taken the food and shoved me out of the door into the hallway. He threw the gun at my feet and slammed the door shut. What a jerk, I thought. Well, at least I had a gun now. I had never really used one before, but I've seen my fair share of crime movies. So I was certain that it would work out somehow. How hard could shooting a gun be, right? I checked the magazine to see how many bullets were in it. Empty. It was empty. Of course it was empty. That's why he handed it over so easily. Otherwise he could have threatened me with it instead of trading it in. How could I have been fooled this easily? You have bullets. Frustrated, I put it away and turned towards the other doors. Fascinating. Room 2 again? I heard a bit ruckus coming from beyond the door as I opened it. This startled me and I almost slammed the door back shut. How did I not hear this commotion out in the hallway? People were screaming, punching, kicking and pulling each other's hair. Others were smashing other people's heads against walls. Everyone was doing their best to kill and not to be killed. It was a horrible scene. As I stood there dumbfounded, I quickly realized what this was all about. People were fighting over food. Instead of sharing it, they decided to fight each other for it. Soon I couldn't differentiate death from life. As everyone was covered in blood, I watched in horror. Suddenly a brawling pair came dangerously close to me. I tried to dodge, but my back hit the door frame and I was pushed out of the room as they slammed against me. I didn't think they even saw me as they were too immersed in their fight. It seems like the food shortage had driven them to insanity. The door slammed shut and I was left alone out in the once again quiet hallway. Hesitantly I debated whether or not I should go back in the room and try to break up the fight. Sure. I felt uneasy about entering this room, but I had to find out what had happened to everyone in here. With a foul feeling in my stomach, I stepped over the threshold. What I saw was way worse than anything I could have imagined. The stench was overwhelming. 40 lifeless blood-covered bodies were lying on the floor. 40? Somehow they had already started decomposing, even though I hadn't been gone for that long. So they are all dead? The smell was enough to make me want to vomit, and I knew that if I stayed here any longer I would. But I had to see if there were any survivors. I slowly made my way to the middle of the room to get a better look at the situation. But then the worst happened. I stepped on something soft and wet, my foot sunk in and my sock was soaked. My body froze. Slowly my eyes wandered to the ground. My foot was stuck in the torso of one of the dead bodies. Almost in panic, I turned around and stumbled out of the door. When I got back out in the hallway, I gasped for air and did my best to suppress my giggling tears. It took me a while to get myself back together. I couldn't explain what I had seen in the room. It all felt like a nightmare. But I knew that I had to move on. Which room should I go into? Can we go into room 2 again? The door was still shut. There was nothing left for me to do in there anyway. Can we take the gun by just waiting for them to die? They were all dead. Room 3, oh no. I was worried about those two. All kinds of terrible scenarios had popped into my head. I glanced around the room. They fortunately seemed to still be more or less okay. I approached them. How is that possible? Amy was still huddled over Lenny's body. Her face was twisted with worry. His condition seems to have worsened, which became more and more apparent as I got closer. Spot on his arms and limbs seems to be bruised. Some kind of black ulcer similar to buds grow out of some of them. I was sure he wouldn't last much longer without medicine. Amy looked up at me with sad eyes. I had some medicine on me. Or at least that's what the woman, yeah. Yes? It seemed like he would die if nothing was done. I decided to take the risk and administer the medicine to him. I have some medicine with me. He should be alright in no time if he takes this. I had sounded more confident than I actually was in the hopes of cheering Amy up. I made sure that he was conscious enough to drink it. Then I carefully lifted his head and put a bottle to his mouth. Are you sure it's a drinkable medicine? He slowly gulped it down and I set his head back down. Will he be okay now? You should test it to your skin first, like apply it to your skin or something like that. Oh my god. I think so, but it will take time for the medicine to take effect. All that was left to do was hope that what I gave him would help against his fever. I shall get going again. I'll come back soon to check on you. Okay, please don't take so long this time. Long? I hadn't been out for that long, but it was understandable that she didn't want to be left all alone. She was likely exaggerating. No, she's not. I walked by the canned food and considered taking some with me. None. I decided against taking any. I left the room and found myself back in the hallway. Room 3 again. I quickly made my way towards the middle of the room and to find out whether the boy's condition had improved. The medicine couldn't actually have cured him this quickly. Oh no. But his fever might have at least gone down a bit. You okay, Amy? And indeed, he didn't seems to have gotten much worse, but there were still weird black ulcers on his skin. They only reminded me of mushrooms, I know it. Amy, on the other hand, didn't seem to be doing well at all. She was sitting next to him, staring into space. It was as if she hadn't even noticed me coming in. Hey, Amy, are you alright? Her head barely moved in my direction. Scott? It was almost as if she didn't really recognize me. I grew concerned. Yeah, it's me, Scott. Are you alright? She didn't reply. Maybe she was just tired. I couldn't blame her. This whole situation was pretty exhausting. Especially for someone as young as her. Where have you been? Her voice was almost inaudible. I was searching for a way out of here. Don't worry, I'm sure I'll find one soon. She continued to stare at the floor with a blank expression. I just need some more time. I'll have you and your brother out of here soon. She turned away. It didn't seem like she was up for a conversation, because you left for so long, probably. It was probably in her interest that I left and continued searching for an exit. I left her be. If we return... I thought about checking on them once again, but as I was about to open the door, I realized... What good would that do? I still hadn't found an exit. I should use my time more efficiently. What will happen if... Okay, I can't. So, room 4? As I entered the room, the door instantly started barking and tugging at its chain. The hole in the wall behind it still seems to be the only way out of this part of the ship. Once again, I went through my options to see what I could do to get past it. I had a gun and there were bullets next to the dog. What if I don't? This might be a bad idea. I didn't feel too enthusiastic about the prospect of killing an animal. Also, I've never handled a gun before. Maybe I could find another way to get past it. In the end, I still couldn't think of any way to get around it. And so I had no other choice but to simply retreat once again. Interesting, probably there's a way. Just like last time, the dog instantly started barking. But one thing was different, its barking seemed weaker than before. It slowly approached the part of the room where it was chained, but all I saw was a miserable creature. It was weakly lying on the ground, only able to bark and growl at me because the time passed a lot. I had no idea what had caused it to become like this, considering that I hadn't been gone for that long. You have. This might be my chance, I thought to myself. But as I approached the hole, the dog managed to stretch at me and almost bit me. Apparently, it was still capable of hurting me in this state. I had a gun and there were a bullet next to the dog. No. Yeah. Room 4 again. An unexplainable feeling overcame me, a feeling that this was a point of no return. No. Room 3? Okay, so we cannot go to room 3. No, room 2 as well. No, room 1. Yep, enter. As I entered the room, I suddenly felt that something was off. There was no barking. As soon as my eyes got accustomed to the darkness, I saw why. The dog was dead. It was lying on the ground in front of the hole in the wall, motionless. Its tongue was hanging out of its mouth. No. As I stepped closer to confirm that it was truly dead, I picked up a faint false stench. I cautiously poked it, but there was no reaction. It was definitely dead. Somehow it had died without any apparent reason. Starvation, probably. I felt bad for it. But now I could finally walk past it without being afraid of getting bitten. Slowly, while trying not to step on it, I approached the hole. There's also a dead body, right? I stared into the hole. You didn't check the body? The hole stared back. Interesting. Before I let the others know, I had to make sure that whatever was on the other side was safe. The hole was rather small and I had trouble fitting through, but I succeeded eventually. After a while, I noticed that something was off. The hole seems to go on for longer than it should. I expected to have already come out in another part of the ship, but it just went on and on. Then a sudden wave of fatigue came over me. It was as if I had stepped into a vial. The air had gotten heavier and my breathing became more ragged. I clutched my chest as I tried to figure out what was going on. A throbbing pain pulsed through my arm. It was as if something had stabbed me. I tried to turn around, but I had already become too weak. How do you turn around this hole? My feet gave in and my vision darkened. I could feel a presence near me. That was a different sound. Before I could find out who it was, my consciousness faded. Interesting. So how do we get the key this time? Oh! Fascinating. Alright, actually before we explore this door, I will do it in a future episode, but for now I'm gonna re-explore the thing that I've seen in the in the third door because there was a key, and I want to get that key first before doing this. Alright? Let's do that. I'm pretty sure there's a key. Pretty sure. So we back here. We can get the thing from room 1. Let's grab it. There we go. We got the thing. And then we need to go to room 3 to give Lenny the thing. I mean Lenny. Seem alright. Yes, caught. Let's see. We can just give. Yeah. Okay, this is the same dialect, I think. Will he be going? I think so, but it will take some time. Should we only save these two? I'm not sure. I will take none. I decided against taking any out of the room and found myself back in the hallway. Room 2, if we just wait long enough, they will die, right? Yeah, let's just skip it. Room 2 gain. Usually you. He didn't even offer so much as a greeting. I don't have anything with me, sorry. Still, how incompetent can you be? Don't come back until you found something. Do we need to save everyone, or do we need everyone just Emil and Lenny? Or did we just need Emil and Lenny? Room 2 gain. I expected Freddy to jump towards me and demand to know whether or not I have had any food with me. But to my surprise he didn't, he was nowhere to be seen. Instead another man, as if awoken from a trance, jumped up and stormed towards me. I tried to step out of the way, but he almost tackled me and grabbed me by my collar. You have food and water! Give them to us! I struggled to get him off me, but he kept clinging to me. His strength was surprising considering how frail he looked. Let me go, I don't have any! Liar, you still look healthy, I bet you're just keeping it all to yourself. As I struggled with him, a pungent metallic stench hit my nose. I finally managed to throw him off me. His body hit the ground. He lay there for a bit, gasping in frustration. Then he crawled back to where he had been sitting before attacking me. While catching my breath, I took a look around the room. Everyone was sitting in their own corner, eyes fixed on the ground. They looked more famished than the last time I had seen them. And the whereabouts of Reddick were also still a mystery to me. They probably eat him? I approached a woman sitting in one of the far back corners of the room, but she averted her gaze as I asked her if she had seen where he had gone. He's not here anymore. That was all she was willing to tell me. I had no idea what had happened here, and it didn't seem like I found out by asking them, because there was 40 people. Another wave of the pungent smell hit my nose and I took a few steps back. What was that? It almost made me gag. Not wanting to spend any more time here than necessary, I left the room. But we haven't got the gun yet. I felt really uneasy about entering this room. Was it because of the way everyone had acted last time I was here, or was it because of the smell? With a foul feeling in my stomach, I stepped over the threshold. An even more stench than last time hit my face, stealing my breath and making my eyes tears up. Oh no. It was enough to make me want to vomit, and I knew that if I stayed here any longer I would. What the fuck? That is fucking horrifying. You eat a lot, that's a knife. I took a look around the room through my teary eyes. There were piles of something. While quickly covering my nose, I wiped at my watering eyes and took a closer look. There were big mountains of clothes scattered throughout the room. Some kinds of insects were buzzing around them. But there were also another big red pile. At first I thought it was flesh, but as I get closer I realized that it was mostly organs. I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. I quickly stepped back towards the wall, but as I did, I almost stumbled over something. I let out a shout as I tried to regain my balance. I glanced at the floor to see what I had stepped on. It was a woman who was leaning on a wall, but her appearance was off. Her stomach was horribly bloated, as if it was about to burst at any moment. Oh. Right next to her was a knife that was covered in blood. It didn't seem like she was killed with it, as I didn't see any stab wounds on her. Instead, she was covered in many small bruises. Either way, she was Deniably dead, even if I couldn't quite make out why. This whole room was bizarre, piles of clothes, a pile of organs, and a woman with a bloated stomach. What had happened here? I heard footsteps? I quickly came to the conclusion that there was no use thinking about it. And I wanted to get out of here as soon as possible. The stench was killing me. I gasped for air as I finally stepped out of the room. Trying to force the horrible image of what I had seen out of my mind, I decided not to enter the room again. Okay. Interesting. Room 1. Yeah, we are just taking May. Room 3? I have a lot of food for him. I was worried about those two, all kinds of terrible scenarios had popped into my head. I glanced around the room. They fortunately seems to still be more or less okay. I approached them. I had given Lenny some medicine, so he should be doing a little better. How is your brother feeling? It seems to be much more calmer than last time. His head doesn't feel as hot anymore. He has been sleeping for a long time though. For a second I considered the worst, but his full pulse was fortunately still there. He did seem to be in better state, and I was hopeful that he would get up soon with enough rest. What if we didn't give medicine? I'm curious now. How about you, Emmy? Are you holding up alright? Yeah, I think so. I should get going again. I'll come back soon to check on you and Lenny again. So long. Yep, nope, known. Fascinating. Room 3 again. I was eager to see if the boy's condition had improved. I didn't think that the medicine could have actually worked this quickly. Oh, but to my surprise he was already up and about. Hello! I'm nestling in a wall while Lenny was frantically running around and knocking on the walls. They didn't seem to have heard me come in. I don't think there's a secret exit anywhere. You should probably save your energy till they come and save us. You know how long it's been already, right? If they wanted to save us, they would have done that forever ago. I bet I can find something. There has to be a way out of here. When faced by his sister's advice, he continued to search every inch of the wall. Emmy seemed to finally spot me and jogs towards me. Scott, did you manage to find a way out? The boy turned around and hastily came closer as well. You're Scott. Emmy told me you helped me with the medicine. Thank you a lot. Don't worry about it. And to answer your question, Emmy, unfortunately not yet. The hope drained from their expectant eyes as I say that. I wish I could have brought them good news. But never mind that. I'm surprised that you're better already, Lenny. Already? I don't think any sickness has ever kept me down longer than this one. I practically slept through a whole week after you gave me the medicine. Huh? A week? Yeah, good thing we had enough food and water. It seems like they were serious. I was pretty sure that it hadn't been that long since the last time I had seen them. Have you really been trapped in here for a week, and now you believe this too? Yep. That didn't make any sense. But I was feeling so glad about Lenny being alright again that I decided to postpone my question about this. Really? Getting them out as quickly as possible had top priority. I'm gonna say fear, actually. So what about your parents? Were they with you too when this whole thing happened? No, they were somewhere on the ship, but not in the same room as us. I see. Can you tell me what they look like? I can let them know that you're safe if I meet them. They proceeded to give me a detailed description of their parents, and I did my best to memorize everything. Okay. So you came here as a group of 6. You, your parents, Sabrina, and Frederick, right? Yeah, and our dog came too. You can probably recognize our dad pretty quickly. The dog! He's a bit odd since he always carries Bullet with him as a lucky charm, but no actual gun. He always says, your father already dead. I don't think he needs to know. Then he gave her an irritated look. Oh, I almost forgot. Did you meet a girl while looking around? She wears a hoodie and a skirt. Yeah, the description sounded oddly familiar. Could they mean the girl I had met on the ship deck? That is literally in your room right now? Yeah, I think I have. She wasn't doing too well when I found her, but she's resting in my room now. She was here shortly before you came. How? She was really nice and told us that she'd find a way to help Lenny, but she never came back. I'm worried about her. She didn't sound that nice when the man in the first room had described her. Maybe she just had a weakness for children. Probably, since most of the time the children didn't get affected. I want to go home with Mom and Dad. Her words were almost inaudible, but both Lenny and me picked it up. Don't worry, we'll get out of here soon. I felt really bad for them, but I wasn't sure what I could do to help. Staying here and letting them my company will be a way. But then I couldn't search for a way to get them out. Maybe I could look for their family first and make sure they knew that their children were safe. But I was afraid of how many days will have passed the next time I entered this room. The flow of time seemed to be peculiar in this place. I came to the conclusion that I had to keep on searching for a way out if I wanted to help them. I shall probably go now. I'll let your parents know that you two are alright if I meet them. You two sit tight and stick together until I come back alright. I'll have found a way to get you out by then, don't worry. Oh, and let us know if you find our dog. He's a Doberman with a red collar. Okay, I'll let you know if I see it. With that, I turn around and step outside. Fascinating. Okay, what if we enter room 3 again? Good. At least they are still alive. The dog. Oh wait, I didn't get a gun, god damn it, because Frederick died. Well, we just need to make the dog die by time then. Okay, so the dog died. I shall probably pick both of them now. Huh. Okay, the same thing. Okay, this time I decided to shoot the dog. I quickly snatched up some of the bullets that were lying near the dog and loaded the gun. It felt rather heavy in my hand as I pointed at the creature. The dog had stopped barking and was glaring at me with mad eyes. It was as if it knew what the object in my hand was for. My breath was getting heavier. My heartbeat accelerated. My finger twitched and sudden silence engulfed me. It was soon replaced by a high-pitched sound. I had instinctively closed my eyes. I slowly opened them. A red puddle started tainting the area around the dog's corpse. I looked at the gun in my hands and a wave of disgust engulfed me. I forcefully threw it in the corner of the room. Immediately I started regretting what I had done to the animal. Cautiously I stepped closer and watched it. I wanted to confirm whether it was really dead. Its body lay on the ground motionless. It was truly dead without doubt. I stepped over it and walked towards the hole in the wall. What I had done weighed heavily on my conscience. Yeah. Okay, the same thing then. I hadn't seen her since yesterday, however. This is the part where they talk about... Can I see the history? Okay. The girl they met on the deck, May, can say that I have. She was here shortly before he came. She was really nice and told us that she found a way to help Lenny, but she never came back. So time flows different because Scott doesn't meet them. I'm worried about her. Okay, we can skip this, I think. I had also noticed a woman earlier that looked similar to how the sibling had... Oh, for room 2! I also saw Sabrina's name back then, but we simply didn't saw Sabrina in room 2. Maybe we could give the food to her instead of Frederick. I dusted myself off and turned toward the other doors. I don't have the food. I should have taken half then. Previously. Yeah, their mother instead of Frederick. I still doesn't have the food. That's the problem. Oh yes, finally. Yeah, food. Sorry, I didn't have anything. I quickly walked past Frederick and approached the woman. Frederick sat back down, frustrated, clenching his fist angrily. Hey, are you by any chance the mother of Amy and Lenny? Her eyes shut open. Have you seen them? Are they okay? Yes, they are alright. They are in another room and have enough food and water to survive for quite a while. Oh, thank God. She looked very relieved. But I knew that she wouldn't be able to fully stop worrying about them until they were back together. I quickly glanced around to make sure that Frederick wasn't looking away. Then I got a cans of food out and held them out to her. Here, this should get you by for some time. She looked a bit confused but still happily took the cans and hid them under her mantle. Are you sure that you wouldn't rather trade the food for his gun? She pointed at Frederick, but I shook my head. No, I'd rather let you have the food. I'm not sure if I can trust him to share it properly. Alright, but take this with you! Shiny from under her mantle and handed it to me. It was a knife. So the woman that... Was it their mother back then? It's probably not quite as useful as a gun, but it's better than nothing and may help you. I suddenly took it and put it away. Thank you, I'll make sure to let you and everyone else know once I've found a way out. Sure. But before I could step out of the door, I was rudely confronted by Frederick. Hey, what did you two talk about? Nothing. I really didn't feel like dealing with him, so I turned around and kept walking towards the door. He forcefully grabbed my arm, preventing me from leaving. Don't try anything funny, alright? I pulled my arm free and quickly made my way out before he could grab me again. I really didn't want to have to deal with him again. The door felt shut behind me and I let my eyes wander over the other doors. Fascinating. You could attack it? Sure? You felt a sharp sting in your hand. The dog had managed to lightly injure me. And now that it tasted blood, it seemed to tug on the chain even more furiously. Since I pulled back my hand quickly enough, I only sustained a small scratch. The dog, on the other hand, seems to have dodged my strike effortlessly. For fear of losing one of my fingers, I discarded the knife idea for now. I couldn't think of a way to get around the dog without getting mauled. Room 4 again? Yeah, sure. Oh, okay. It was weak and almost unable to move. The knife may actually be valid option this time. The monster looked up as I got closer, glaring at the knife in my hands with hate-filled eyes. I was afraid. Do we even need a knife? But I knew that I had to do this to get past it. As I got closer, it started to writhe. It was almost as if it was trying to escape me. Oh. Once I stood right next to it, it once again tried to snap at me. I debated whether I should try to get past it without killing it, but the risk was too big. If I was to be bitten here, the wound could easily get infected. You already get bitten, the dog could also carry disease like rabies. I cautiously approached it and readied my weapon. At the last moment, I instinctively closed my eyes. As I felt the knife touch its body, I quickly jumped back. The knife almost tumbled out of my grip. When I opened my eyes, I could see that my aim had been off. I only managed to scratch its back. I still felt terrible. It became even more furious as it intensified its attempt to bite me. This time I had to deliver the final strike. I wanted to get this over with as quickly as possible. And I didn't want it to suffer anymore. I took aim at its neck. The red collar it was wearing stared back at me. It was the dog, you just realized now? I radiated myself and... Again, I had instinctively closed my eyes at that last moment. When I opened my eyes, I saw the creature stare back at me. It had stopped barking. I looked at where I had aimed with my knife. There was no blood I had missed. Or to be exact, I had hit the wrong target. Instead of the dog, I had cut its collar. It was free. I quickly brought my hands up to my face as the dog lunged at me. My feet entangled and I fell backwards. Air was forced out of my lungs as my back hit the ground and the dog stepped on my stomach. If I hadn't been such a coward and hadn't closed my eyes, I wouldn't now be getting mauled by a dog. I readied myself for the oncoming attack, but nothing happened. I slowly opened my eyes. The dog had already stepped off of my body and was running towards the door to the hallway. Why didn't it attack me? Did it think that I afraid it on purpose? Either way, I was happy that I was still unharmed. As I looked at the ground where the dog had previously been, I noticed something it had left behind. The key! It was the dog's collar. Something had been attached to its inner side. A key! I had no idea what this key was for, but I decided to take it with me. It might come in handy later. And it's the same thing. It seems to be really gone. The dog can get out? Okay. But why the dog can get out? Okay. There's something that I want to test first, but when we already get the key so good, I want to test. You found key 3. I want to test what will happen if we didn't give Lenny the medicine, and also, is there a what will happen if we pick May before the quake? Does that will do something? I'm actually curious. Oh, this door. I can't wait to open you. Oh, I can see mushroom. On top of that, it was as if some mushroom-like plants were sprouting out of them. Emmy. Oh no, Emmy. The door wouldn't budge at first. How did it get stuck? It was totally fine the last time I tried to enter it. Oh no. I started pulling on it with all my might. Eventually, I was able to pry it open. What had blocked my attempt to enter the room were vines and mushrooms growing on the ground. Where had they come from? My question was quickly answered as I pushed through them. Lenny's body seems to be floating in the middle of the room? But I quickly realized that it was just being supported by some of the vines. Okay. It looked like they had sprouted out of him. How was this possible? Where was Amy? I couldn't see her anywhere. Amy, are you in here? Are you alright? No reply. She had to be. There's no way she could. My eyes darted around in a panic until I finally spotted her. It was Amy, but my heart sank into my stomach. She died? There had been no way to escape the expense of the vines. And so she must be entangled in them, and then what? Something wet slid down my cheek, but I barely noticed it. I didn't know them for that long, but I still felt responsible. What happened? I was their chance to escape this hell, but I had let them down. Shaking my head in disbelief, I stumbled backwards out of the room. The horrible scene had burned itself into my mind. I was on the verge of losing hope, but I saved myself and turned away from the door. Even if I was unable to save Emil anymore, I might be able to help other people trapped in here. Shouldn't give up just yet. I had to postpone mourning their death until later. Interesting. So I'm just gonna skip forward, and if I didn't find something that is interesting, I'm gonna end the video and I'll tell you about that. Okay, so I guess that's all for Mycorrhiza. I actually don't discover anything else. Probably we couldn't save them, like the recurring theme of this game. And we are back at this door. And we have 3 keys. I'm really curious what will the 3 keys do. But for now, yes, I will end the video right here. I hope you enjoy it. See you later then in the next episode of Mycorrhiza. Will it be the final one? I don't know. Bye bye.